So very happy evening. Namaskaram to all. Welcome to our ancient wisdom learnings. Today we are going to have a very interesting session with Dr. Venkat Barla, who's going to give us a comparative understanding and to look at from the first session where we try to understand about Valmiki Ramayanam. In continuation with that, as a series, today we will try to have a look at Tulsidas ji ka Ramcharitmanas, and a little bit of comparison with Valmiki Ramayana, because we come from the corporate world, unlike the regular scholarly kind of a world. We don't come from there. The idea is to understand and learn as much from Valmiki Ramayana, from Tulsidas Ramayana. What is it that we can learn and then implement it in our day-to-day lifestyle, both in our personal and professional lives, especially for the youth and youngsters, which includes all of us, to put it into our life as learnings, as a plan of actions for us. So I request Dr. Venkat Barla to take it forward with Ramcharitmanas, Tulsidas ji ka Ramcharitmanas, as a comparison with Valmiki Ramayana. Over to you, Dr. Venkat Barla.
Raghavam Dasharathatmamaprameyam Sitapatim Raghukulamvaya Ratnadipam Ajanubahum Aravinda Dalayataksha Ramam Nishachara Vinashakaram Namami Namami Good evening, learned audience, friends, relatives, colleagues, and students and faculty members. I'm grateful to you all and to the Almighty God for giving me this opportunity to present yet another session today about the Tulsi Ramayana. Although we said it is a comparison with Valmiki Ramayana, basically we are trying to explore different contours of the Tulsi Ramayana and Tulsidas himself. This presentation may be having a lot of limitations and omissions and commissions. Would request the learned audience to bear with us for all the omissions, because this is subject such an ocean, and within the time available we were able to cull out to the extent possible. And today, before I ask Mr. Niranjan to put the screen, but I would like to take 5 or 10 minutes to talk about the mission that we have today in this session. What we are trying to do is basically to find out what is there in Ramcharitramanas, which is known as Tulsi Ramayana. Last week we had seen the Valmiki Ramayana, all the 7 kandas we had gone through, and we have had our learnings. We had noted that the avatar of Rama was meant for telling the beings in this world how a father should be, how a brother should be, how the relationship between the brothers should be, how a wife, how a husband should be, how a father, parents must be honored, and so many beautiful lessons that we had recapitulated, which are need of the hour and which today's youth need to imbibe. Although they are there in our scriptures, the current youth seem to be drifting away from the scriptures. Therefore, this effort to communicate back to the youth and also all of us as a reminiscence that how great our legacy is, how great our scriptures and our history and so on. It's a beautiful experience. And we had also noted that Valmiki Ramayana is basically life of a human called Rama, who by virtue of his good deeds, he was ascended, he was eulogized, or he became God. It is not that Valmiki started Rama as a God. No, Valmiki started Rama as a common being. But then how a common man can become a divine himself is proven by Lord Rama in Valmiki Ramayana. Even in our Kali Yuga also, if you look at Shri Sai, was a human being who had a lot of divine qualities. Today we are worshipping him as divine. Puttapatti Satya Sai, for example, where I had the fortune of living for 3 years previously, is another example of how a human being like you and me could become a divine by simple acquisition of those divine qualities by good deeds, following dharma, doing all that which is said in the scriptures. Suffice to mention these two examples and motivate us enough to become better and better human beings, particularly in today's context. With this having said, let me shift over to the Tulsi Ramayana. Ramcharitmanas is basically the reverse of Valmiki Ramayana. If Valmiki Ramayana is bottom-up approach, from bottom how you ascended to the top. On the other way around, the Ramcharitmanas is top-down approach. God himself descended to this world to tell the Manavali as to how life should be, how a behavior should be, and how the day-to-day life and working should be. So this is a top-down approach. That is the reason why the Ramcharitmanas is the first document which brought us the divine culture in the folklore. It started in North India. We will see from where it started. And earlier, the scriptures were confined to temples. Only certain selected, honored, revered, learned people could recite those things. And otherwise, the Ramayana was not in the day-to-day life of people, particularly in the northern India. But then, after the divine inspiration, when Tulsidas ji wrote the Ramcharitmanas, it became a folklore virtually. There are week after week sessions like this where people used to sing Tulsi Ramayana. So from the temples, Ramayana is liberated down into the society, and it became a common man's bhakti yoga, to say, and that's how the Ramayana became very popular. And after that, several other developments came in, and Ram Mandir and whatnot had happened, and so on. So this is the greatness of this epic, Tulsi Ramayana, which brought the bhakti movement into the people. It is not that bhakti movement wasn't there in the south earlier. It was there in the south earlier, but Ramayana, the Valmiki Ramayana, before Kamba Ramayana came, before Malla Ramayana came, the Ramayana was in the temples. It was in the archives. It was in the temples. It is much later. It is only after 15th century, after the movement started in Tulsi times, Tulsidas times, and that's how. And that time, of course, this movement was suppressed. This movement, subsequent kingdoms, subsequent developments and so on. And yet, this bhakti movement, which Tulsidas ji started, grew leaps and bounds with the divine spirit and power. And today, world over, not only in India, but world over, this bhakti movement, India has become the spiritual capital of the world. And this particular epic, be it Valmiki Ramayana, Tulsi Ramayana, or Kamba Ramayana, or Malla Ramayana, these versions of Ramayana have onset the bhakti movement with India as the center, and world over the movement had spread. And the subsequent movements, ISKCON, for example, Ramakrishna Math, Sundara Chaitanya Math, and whatever you take, they were all built on the edifice formed from the Tulsi Ramayana. Such is the greatness of this epic. Now we will go one by one into the slides. I would request Ranjan Garu to put the screen. Yeah. So this is how the Ramcharitmanas begins. And we are trying to do within our limited knowledge a comparison with Valmiki Ramayana of the Ramcharitmanas. Sri Raghavam, I was trying to explain, I was trying to recite, although it is not in the original tone, but then I've tried to do my best. This picture on the left shows Lava Kusha, the children of Lord Rama. When they met Lord Rama, the first shloka which they recited was this: Sri Raghavam Dasharathatmata Maprameyam. This is in praise of Lord Rama, and he became emotional. He became emotional and hugged his children. That is the greatness of this shloka. And the next slide is about a sort of comparison about the yuga in which it was written. Ramayana was written by sage Valmiki in Treta Yuga in the Sanskrit language. Sage Valmiki was a contemporary of Lord Rama. This we had seen in the previous episode. Ramcharitmanas was written by great Awadhi poet Goswami Tulsidas in Kali Yuga in Awadhi. Tulsidas lived in the 15th century, 1511 to 1623. So that is about 100 years he lived. He was contemporary of Shakespeare. He was contemporary of the Ibrahim Lodi, the onset of the Muslim Samraj, Babur invasion, defeating of Ibrahim Lodi at first Panipat, and establishment of the next 400 years of rule. That is the moment, that is the changeover context where the Tulsi Ramayana had happened. So we will go into the details. Next slide. Now this is about Awadhi language. Awadhi language is basically a language of a folklore spoken by people in Awadh, the region encompassing central Uttar Pradesh, along with the lower part of Ganga Yamuna Davo. In the west, it is bounded by Western Hindi, especially Kanauji, Bondeli, while in the eastern there is Bihari and Bhojpuri. In the north, it is bounded by country of Nepal, and in the south, Bengali, Bagheli, which shares a great resemblance with Awadhi. On the other hand, Ramcharitmanas was written by great Awadhi poet Goswami. We have seen this. Now in the next slide, we will see where it is concentrated. If you look at the red spot, this shows where the Awadhi language erupted. And Tulsidas, son Tulsidas was a person born to his parents in that locality. So we will see his life and mission also in detail. But then this picture is sufficed to show, the red spot shows where Awadhi is located. That's from where the Tulsi Ramayana had spread down to the Rameshwaram also in the south. and the west and the east as well. Next slide. Now this is a comparison again. The word Ramayana is made of two words, Ram and Ainam, which means the story of Rama. The word Ramcharitmanas is the good deeds of Rama, which look like a lake, Manasa Sarovaram. This picture, a blue picture that we are seeing, is a lake, Manasa Sarovar, lake in Himalayas. So it is the story of Rama and his good deeds, which look like Manasa Sarovar. And if you go to that Manasa Sarovaram, if you drink that water, if you take a feel of that, you are purified and you are elevated. And here the message for us is Tulsi Ramayana exhorts us to pursue the path of doing good deeds in all stages of life. We will see the stages one after the other after this slide. But such a worldly document, while the Valmiki Ramayana was a divine document virtually those days, later on in our times we have got several versions and interpretations which have come in. So we have known Valmiki Ramayana in much thanks to Ramayana serial episode and so on, several movies which came in all languages. We have become almost a part and parcel of the Valmiki Ramayana. But then earlier, it was in the up to 13th century probably, it was basically a temple thing which was recited in the temples as I mentioned. But then Ramcharitramanas is a folklore. Thus Ramcharitramanas is lake of good deeds, and Ram, it tells the human beings by doing the good deeds, you become like Rama. That is the moral of the story. Next one, please. Now coming to the number of kandas, it has got 7 kandas in both cases, both Valmiki and Ramcharitramanas. The only difference is Ramcharitramanas has also 7 chapters with just one difference, that Tulsidas changed Yuddha Kanda to Lanka Kanda. You know why this would have happened? To my surmise, this would have happened because Sant Tulsidas was also a great devotee of Lord Hanuman. He wrote Hanuman Chalisa himself, and we would see it became a part of this presentation also. So probably because of that, he wanted that to be Lanka Kand instead of Yuddha Kand. Not only Yuddha, but also a lot of it have happened in Lanka, primarily with the role that Lord Hanuman played. It is a story, complete another Ramayana, you can say, the old story of Hanuman, if you recount. So that's why probably this particular Yuddha Kanda is renamed as Lanka Kanda, rightly by the Sant Tulsidas, Goswami Sant Tulsidas. Thank you. Next one. This is Sant Tulsidas writing Ramcharitmanas. Next. Now, when Tulsidas started writing Ramcharitmanas, first he did a puja to Lord Shankara. Here, I feel like I'm getting emotional. I feel like singing a lyric which is known to me. Shankara Nada Sharira Para Veda Vihara Para Jiveshwara Shankara Nada Sharira Para Veda Vihara Para Jiveshwara. Shankara, Shankara, Shankara. Ganamu nivani, praname nivani, khaname pranamani. Mauna vichakshana, gana vilakshana, ragame yogamani. Ganamu nivani, praname nivani, kaname pranamani. Mauna vichakshana, gana vilakshana, yogame ragamani. Nadopasana chesina vaadanu, నీ వాడను నేనైతే. నాదోపాసన చేసిన వాడను, నీ వాడను నేనైతే. ధిక్కరీంద్ర హిమశగరీంద్ర హిత కంధరా నీలకంఠరా, శుద్ధులరిగ నీ రుద్రవీణ నీ నిద్రగానమిటి వినితరించరా వినితరించరా. Shankara, Nata Sharira Para, Veda Vihara Para, Deveshwara. Shankara, Shankara, Shankara. That's how Tulsidas would have sung. This is a lyric in our times, but Tulsidas would have sung in a different way. In this picture, we can see the divine energy coming out from Lord Shiva, and that entered son Tulsidas. Then he could start writing Ramcharitramanas. Next slide, please. Now look at the format of writing. Ramayana in the Valmiki times was in shlokas. It's a shloka format. Ramayana is the original story of Lord Rama and his journey. Rama, Sita, Lakshmana, Hanuman, and all that. Now, Ramcharitmanas was written in Chaupasi's format. Chaupasi is a 4-pillared, 2-line, 16-syllable lyric. 16 syllables, 8 plus 8. Again 16 syllables, 8 plus 8. You have 4 legs of 8 syllables each. That's what the meaning of Chaupai is. Ramcharitmanas is the retelling of Ramayana. Tulsidas has acknowledged in Valmiki. Here, Tulsidas himself acknowledged Valmiki as the first guru. There's a lot of stories are also there. A lot of interpretations are also there. That Valmiki himself was reborn as Tulsidas to write another interpretation of Ramayana, because otherwise understanding that what is coming from Treta Yuga was virtually not possible unless he had a previous Janam experience. That's what the Valmiki himself born as Valmiki himself born as Tulsidas to be able to write this great epic Ramcharitmanas. The Chaupasis, 16 syllables, 8 each part thereof, for Dharma, establishment of Dharma in 4 padas. As we know, Kali Yuga, we have only 1 leg of Dharma which is happening. So the Ramcharitmanas is the epic which helps us to bring back Dharma in 4 padas. Next one, please. Now we talked about Hanuman, origins of Hanuman. Hanuman was shown as a combination of human and a Vanar in Valmiki Ramayana. Truly, if you look at the picture on the left side, we see Lord Hanuman as an avatar of the human being as well as Vanar being. That's how the portrait of the being of Lord Hanuman was in Valmiki Ramayana. Now coming to Ramcharitmanas, it was not so. It is purely shown as a Vanar. On the right side, we have a Vanar picture. In the various temples of Lord Hanuman, if we go, we find the Vanar avatar many a times, and then that's how it is shown. Now, moral of this is you don't know who will help you in times of need. Never look down on any being. Lord Rama did that. In all his avatars, Lord Vishnu-murti, in all his Dashavataras, we'll find that no being, even including animals, ants and bees, or whatever kind of people, never look down upon. It's only in this Kali Yuga that we have created caste, creed, community, religion, all are man-made evils. All these man-made evils have been created by us, by the vested interests, who have perpetuated their superiority in the society, thereby denigrating the other people as chandalas. All this has happened in this Kali Yuga, and it's happening more, unfortunately, more so in the much educated elite societies as well. That's what needs to come back to its original glory. That is possible only when we adhere to scriptures. Next one. This is the origins of Hanuman we had seen. Now, another difference that we find between both these epics of Valmiki and Tulsidas ji is how Sita Swayamvar was presented. According to Valmiki Ramayana, King Janaka never organized Sita Swayamvar as a mass function. Instead, whenever some mighty person used to visit Janaka, he used to show them Lord Shiva's Dhanusha, bow of Shiva, and ask them to lift it. Once Vishwamitra visited Janaka with Lord Rama and Lakshmana, then Janaka showed the bow to Rama. Lord Rama lifted the bow and he was married to Sita. We know that story. That's how the Shiva Dhanush was broken when he was synchronizing the thread from that end to this end of the bow. Now, as per Ramcharitmanas, Swayamvar was organized by Janaka Maharaj for Sita specifically. Sita would choose the person as her husband who can lift the bow without breaking it. Nobody could lift it until Rama came to lift it. He lifted it but broke it in the process. After hearing this, Parshurama got very angry and Rama asked to forgive him. That's how Sita Swayamvar has happened. The moral of the story is Lord Rama in either cases was with his Guru. By following his Guru, by demonstrating his skills, he was able to achieve the highest glory, highest achievement one could, breaking Shiva Dhanush. No human being or none would have done it. So the youth message here is Lord Rama simply followed his Guru. Guru Bhakti and learning from Guru to achieve any great feat like synchronizing Shiva Dhanush is possible with skill and power that Guru gives and the Sishya demonstrates. This is a beautiful lesson that all of us, even this is valid for this yuga, next yuga, and next any number of yugas. This particular lesson that Guru Sishya Parampara, in whichever form, you may be in digital world or in blockchain or AR or VR, in whichever world you are, your knowledge has to come from the experience of the revered Gurus. You develop the skills, you develop wisdom out of that and demonstrate it to achieve the success. This is what the lesson for the day is. Next one, please. That's what the Shiva Dhanush breaking, Sita Swayamvar. Have a dream, equip yourself with the tools and the power to achieve. Rama never had a dream, of course, to marry Sita, obviously, but then he had a dream to achieve things. He was a great achiever. He was a great achiever. So therefore, that is the lesson for us. And to achieve your goals, you need to first equip yourself with the tools and power to achieve them. deserve and desire is the sequence. First you deserve, make yourself deserving for a particular thing. Then you desire. It will accrue to you. It will be added to you. It will be given to you. On the other hand, today's youth would like to desire, but not deserve. They have a lot of desires. Stories about this epic, and when Ramcharitmanas was written,
Sorry for the interruption because there was a power cut at my place. It's still continuing. I'm working on my mobile data right now, just for your info.
so when Ramcharitmanas was written, what happened was that until then the Valmiki Ramayana, which was in the temples, which was confined to the few elite people or elite people, they started attacking Sant Tulsidas for having brought such a commonized version of the Tulsi Ramayana. How can a divine knowledge be distributed to the common man? He was despised. He was downgraded. He was not allowed to come, and so on. But yet the power of the writing is so great because it is inspired by the divine. Because it is inspired by the divine, no human beings can stop it. That is what has happened. And Sant Tulsidas was born in an ordinary family. He was named Rambola. His first name was Rambola. He had his special qualities right from childhood. Rambola was married. And then after he was married, he was so emotionally attached with his wife that once when his wife went off to her parents' place, Rambola went along with her. He was so madly in love with his wife that his wife told him that if you are after me, then your life fulfillment will not happen. You better go back and write Ramcharitmanas. You rewrite the story of Lord Rama. That is how it is said in some of the versions that Sant Tulsidas started writing Ramayana, and that's how it became a great epic. Yes, sir. Now it's okay. Can we go back to the slide? This slide shows yet another difference regarding the abduction of Sita Devi. In Valmiki Ramayana, real Sita Devi herself was kidnapped by Ravana in disguise. As per Ramayana, the abduction of and sufferings of Sita Devi were real. She was kidnapped by Ravana by forcefully dragging her into his chariot. Rama rescues Sita and asks her to prove her purity to the world by taking Agni Pravesha. This all we had seen in the previous. But now coming to the Ramcharitramanas, it is said that the clone of Sita was kidnapped. It is like a digital version for today's youth. If you look at it, it's a clone of Sita Devi. As per Ramcharitramanas, real Sita was never kidnapped. Rama foresees the abduction of Sita and creates a clone of Sita and sends the real Sita to Agni Deva. The Agni Pravesh Pariksha was just a way to exchange clone of Sita with real Sita. So this is how it was presented in the Ramcharitmanas. But in either case, the message is very clear that the purity of Sita Devi was proven in real or in clone. And this was a message to the people in all the humanity of the human beings those days, that Rama is not a person who would accept with when you have a few days somewhere else and things, but then it's not in our, see, we may think like this, our mind may think something wrong and things like that, but then those days Rama never had this in his mind, that something wrong had happened to Sita. No, he never had. He was a god himself, he knew. But the question is how it should be known to the ordinary man, ordinary people. That is the reason why he had asked for Agni Pravesha, and she did. Another important episode which has happened in this particular slide was that the whole thing has happened. The abduction of Lord Sita Devi had happened because she crossed Lakshmana Rekha, drawn by Lakshmana himself as he was going away from Chitrakoot. He was going away from Chitrakoot on something, so Sita was alone, and Lakshmana draws Lakshmana Rekha. This line you cannot cross. So moral of the story here is never cross Lakshmana Rekha. We have so many Lakshmana Rekhas in our lives also, as a husband, as a son, as a brother, as a daughter, as a mother. You have so many Lakshmana Rekhas you have to operate within. The moment you cross, either law will take you, society will take you upon, something would happen to you. The moral of the story is never cross Lakshmana Rekha. Thank you, Niranjan Garu. Let's go to the next. Now, this is about the difference, number 9, I think. This is about Ravana on battlefield. According to Valmiki Ramayana, Ravana came twice. First he comes, he was forgiven by Lord Rama, he goes back again, and he comes back to the final battle. As per Ramayana, Ravana came to fight Rama in the battlefield 2 times. First he came in the beginning of the war, he was humiliated by Rama but left alive. Second time, he came at the end of the war and was killed by Rama. The war was going on between Vanaras and Rakshasas. It was going on anyway, but then finally the Ravana comes and then was only to be killed by Rama as per the predestined life and death of Ravana that was written for him. But then in the Ramcharitramanas, Ravana came to the battlefield only once. So this picture is depicting the beginning on the top and at the end also. When Ravana appeared to Rama in the opening there, when he had 10 heads, that is the beginning opening that he appeared to Lord Rama. And at the end, on the red side, bottom side, you have Ravana being killed by Rama. It's only once. It's only once as per Ramcharitmanas. Now let's go to the next slide, please. Now, moral of the story, if we read, one can read here. Can we lift this slide? Yeah. Live a life of virtue. Be an example to others. Learn to respect others. You should create history by generating. So can we go back?
Sorry, we just go back once for the moral of the story. Just give us a second.
No, I lost track of it. I would re-enter. Yeah, this was a slide we were looking at. In Ramcharitmanas, Ravana came to the battlefield only once. Now, respect your competitor, never underestimate the competitor. On the contrary, learn from whatever virtues your competitor has and improve your power to get the final advantage and win. this is very important for today's business field also, today's life and mission of people also, that we should not despise others, rather learn from others to become doubly powerful. Thank you. It's a wonderful lesson. Thank you very much. Next. In Ramcharitmanas, Rama is depicted as supreme being, the incarnation of God himself. As we said earlier, it is a top-down. Lord Vishnu came down as Lord Rama as per Ramcharitmanas. He is shown to have the divine touch to his deeds. His actions described as God's righteous ways to remove evils and establish dharma. Live a life of virtue. Be an example to others. Learn to respect others. You should create history, and generations should recall you for your achievements and model behavior. Leave a stamp on history. Leave a legacy. Satya Sai, for example, if you look at J.R.D. Tata, they are the people who have left a legacy, their own stamp. If you look at from our Kali Yuga also, we are saying, but every one of us should have such a mission that by the end of your life journey, you must leave a legacy behind, a stamp of your own. How people should remember you is most important to recognize and live accordingly. Thank you, sir. Next one. This is a slide, the story of Tulsidas, and already we have said about it, but then we can flip through the slides very quickly. Niranjan Garu may kindly go to the next one and then pass on the. Yeah, this is all written about his father's name was Atmaram Shukla Dubey and his mother's name was Tulsi. Tulsidas did not cry at the time of his birth. He was born with the 32 teeth intact. In childhood, his name was Tulsiram or Rambola. Next one, please. This is a transformation which has happened. Tulsidas' wife's name was Buddhimati Ratnavali. Son's name was Tarak. So the life, I think what we should do is we skip the detailed life and mission of Tulsidas, and we should keep flipping the slides. I would make comments whenever there is possible. Niranjan Garu, kindly move on. How Tulsidas met her. While returning from his daily oblations to God, Tulsidas used to throw the water and the roots of a tree. The spirit was very much pleased with Tulsidas. The spirit said, "Oh man, I am pleased. Ask what you want." Then Tulsidas said, "Let me have the darshan of Lord Rama." The spirit said, "You go to Hanuman. You go to Lord Hanuman and you will see." So accordingly, he went to a Hanuman temple, and there he experienced the spirit of Lord Rama, and then he started writing Ramcharitmanas. That's how Lord Hanuman becomes the beginning. That's how he prayed him accordingly, and wrote Hanuman Chalisa also. Next one, please. Yeah, the manifestation of Rama, Lord Rama appeared to him, and then this story, some thieves came to Tulsidas ashram to take away his goods. and he came to know that Lord Rama himself has been taking the trouble of protecting his. When Lord Rama is protecting, there's no question of somebody taking away. This is the story which Tulsidas experienced in his life. So he felt Lord Rama is protecting him. That is the conviction he developed after this incident. Next one, please. Tulsidas once went to Vrindavan. He visited the temple. He saw an image of Lord Krishna. He said, "How shall I describe thy beauty, O Lord? But Tulsi will bow his head only when you take up bow and arrow in your hands." That is how Lord Rama appeared with bow and arrow in his hand. That he saw Lord Rama in that posture. That's what when Rama appeared to him. Next one, please. Now, as I mentioned earlier, just about when Tulsidas was about to write this Ramcharitramanas, Ibrahim Lodi was defeated, Babar came to the throne, and Magad Samraj had commenced for the next 400 years or so. Emperor Akbar started insulting Tulsidas because Tulsidas faced insulting from other colleagues also. But Akbar became emperor, young Akbar became emperor, and he even started insulting Tulsidas. And ultimately, it is said that even Emperor Akbar accepted Tulsidas, and finally Tulsidas progressed his Ramcharitramanas and completed. Next one, please. Yeah, Akbar invited Tulsidas. The Mughal Emperor Akbar summoned Tulsidas on hearing of his bringing back a dead man to life. He showed an. See, this also shows that Tulsidas had divine powers. He also was considered to be the composer of Hanuman Chalisa, as we mentioned, a popular devotional hymn dedicated to Hanuman, the monkey god and divine devotee of Lord Rama. The Mughal emperor after seeing all this, Akbar called him. Tulsidas declined to go as he was too engrossed in creating his verses, but he was later forcefully brought to the court of Akbar and was asked to perform a miracle, with Tulsidas declined by saying, "It's a lie. All I know is Rama. I have no miracles. I am not so powerful. All I know is Rama." The emperor imprisoned Tulsidas at Fatehpur Sikri. We will see this Rama what he is. Tulsidas refused to bow to Akbar and created a verse in praise of Hanuman and chanted it, Hanuman Chalisa, for 40 days. Suddenly, an army of monkeys descended upon the town and weekend havoc in all corners of the Fatehpur Sikri, entering each home and emperor's harem, scratching people and throwing bricks from that end to this end. Next one, please. Akbar's apology. And finally, of course, we don't have to spend time on this, but then Emperor Akbar apologized. Akbar became a close friend of Tulsidas after that, and he ordered a firman that followers of Lord Rama, Lord Hanuman, and other Hindus should not be harassed in his kingdom. That was a firman given by Akbar, thanks to Tulsidas, that he brought life to the Hindu movement, the Ramayana culture, even in the Akbar's times on and till today. Next one, please. The importance of Ramcharitmanas is basically bhakti. It is a bhakti movement, and here, with permission of the audience, I wish to take up a lyric. Omkaranath Sandhanamauganame Shankarabharanamu Okaranadhanusandhanamauganame Shankarabharanamu Shankarabharanamu Shankaragaranigalamu Sri Hari Padakamalahu Shankaragaranigalamu Sri Hari Padakamalahu Ragaratna Manika Taralamu Shankarabharanamu Shankarabharanamu Sharada Veena Sharada Veena Raga Chandrika Saravana Agamu Sharada Veena Raga Chandrika Rasitaravana Meghamu Narada Nirada Mahatiri Nada Virachita Shravana Meghamu Rasikula Kanuragamai Rasagangalo Tanamai Rasikula Kanuragamai Rasagangalo Tanamai Saba Veda Mantramu Shankarabharanamu Shankarabharanamu Advaita Siddhike Amaratvalabdike Ganame Sopanamu Advaita Siddhike Amaratvalabdike Ganame Sopanamu Satya sadhanaku Satvashodhanaku Sangeetame Pranamu Satvasadhanaku Satyashodhanaku Sangeetame Pranamu Tyagaraja Hridayamai Ragaraja Nilayamai Tyagaraja Hridayamai Ragaraja Nilayamai Bhakti Nosagu Mriti Yoga Margamu Hridaya Ledi Sudhala Paswargamu Shankara Bharanamu Sarigama Padani Dhani Shankara Bharanamu. Thank you. There are some overtures, there are some omissions, but then the raga is more important. I'm sure you would have enjoyed it. Niranjan Garu, shall we go to the next one? The idea was to bring the bhakti feeling into the audience and into myself. That was the reason this was recited. Now we go to the Kandas, Balakanda. The first and the longest of the 7 chapters of Ramcharitramanas. It begins with extensive invocations to gods, like the one we sang just now, and goddesses. Events leading to the descent of incarnation of Rama are described well in this Ramcharitmanas. These include, among other tales, the story of Shiva and Parvati. The chapter then describes the birth of Rama in Ayodhya, his childhood, the protection of the sage Vishwamitra's yajna, entry into Janakpur, breaking of Lord Shiva's bow, marriage to Sita and return to Ayodhya. That's how the Balakanda happens. Next one, please. Then we have Ayodhya Kanda. The second chapter, Ramcharitmanas, begins with the preparations of Rama's coronation in Ayodhya. Other events described in this chapter are the exile of Rama, Dasharatha's death, Rama's encounter with Nishada and the Kevata boatmen, the return of Bharata to Ayodhya and his anger at his mother's scheming, the meeting of Bharata and Rama in the forest, and the installation of Rama's padukas, sandals, on the throne of Ayodhya with Bharata as the regent. Bharata ruled the kingdom with keeping the padukas, the sandals of Rama on the throne. In fact, Bharata brings the sandals on his head. Bharata carries the sandals on his head and brings and puts it on the throne. The bhakti, the love, the bhakti that he has for his brother and Mata Sita Devi is so great that Bharata never wanted the enjoyment of kingdom, never wanted the power, but for the love and affection and the relation with his brother and all family members. Great lesson indeed. We are fortunate, we are revisiting all these kandas. Each kanda has a beautiful message for the life and vision of today's people. Next one, please. Aranyakanda. This brief but eventful chapter describes Rama's life in the forest with Sita and Lakshmana and his meeting with various sages, Atri, Anusuya, Agastya, who dwell there. The meeting with Shurpanakha, Ravana's sister, and her humiliation, battle with the demons, Khara, Dushana, Ravana's scheme of revenge, Marichi's impersonation of the golden deer and the abduction of Sita, and Rama's grief in the beginning of search for Sita are some of the other important episodes of this chapter, Aranyakanda. We have seen that in the earlier episode also, in the last week. We can move on to the next one. Kishkinda Khanda. This is the shortest chapter in Ramcharitmanas. It shows the meeting of Hanuman and Rama, Rama's friendship with Sugriva, the slaying of Vali, and the beginning of search for Sita by Sugriva's army. Next one, please. Sundarakanda. This is the fifth chapter of Ramcharitmanas and is considered by many as to be the heart of the whole text. It describes exploits of Hanuman, his crossing the ocean, entry into Lanka, his meeting with Vibhishana, his discovery of and meeting with Sita, and his burning of Lanka. We know in this Ramayana serial itself, we know all this. Other episodes described in this chapter are the defection of Vibhishana, the exchange of messages between Rama and Ravana, and the Rama's taming of the ocean, making of the culvert and crossing over to the ocean. Next one, please. Lanka Kanda. Yuddha Kanda is renamed as Lanka Kanda. This chapter describes the whole period of Rama's stay in Lanka, the island kingdom of Ravana. The episodes include the building of the bridge on the ocean and crossing over to Lanka, and Angada's fruitless peace mission to Ravana. Then follows the battle with the fall of various heroes, Lakshmana's injury and recovery, and finally the slaying of Ravana. The battle is followed by the crowning of Vibhishana as the king of Lanka, and the return of Sita and the journey back to Ayodhya and Rama's coronation. Next one, please. The Uttarakanda is an additional chapter or kanda which was added. The chapter later events and epilogue. This is the seventh and the final chapter of Ramcharitmanas, which talks of events occurring after the Battle of Lanka. Major events are end of Rama's exile and his return to Ayodhya, crowning of Rama as the king of Ayodhya, and the description of his exemplary governance, Rama Rajya. This is followed by details of departure of the incarnation of Lord Rama and the dialogue between Garuda and Kashubandi and the closing of invocation text. Next one, please. It's such an experience to Now we come to the Lord Hanuman Chalisa. Hanuman Chalisa was written by Sant Tulsidas. Sri Guru Charna Saroja Raja Nijamanu Mukumari Sudhari Barnavu Raghubara Bimala Jasu Jo Dayako Falachari Buddhihina Tama Janike Sumirao Pavan Kumar Balabudhi Vidya Behu Mohi Varahu Kalesa Pikar Chopai. Now the Chopai of it is Jai Hanuman Jnana Guna Sagara Jai Kapita Tihu Loka Ujagara. We know the Hanuman Chalisa, the long Chalisa, which is said to be giving divine powers in the house if Hanuman Chalisa is recited. Next one, please. That is the coronation of Lord Rama, and this we come to the end of this session, and I feel blessed, quite touched by the happenings that we have gone through, and I'm so grateful for every one of you that this opportunity is given to me. Thank you all. Over to Niranjan Saab for the next event.
So I think my side the power is shut down here, but hopefully we are. So I will cut down my video, and then the floor is open for discussion. And may I request for discussion and dialogue, such that we are able to interact and bring out the values from Tulsi Ramcharitramanas as well as Valmiki's Ramayana. The floor is open for discussion.
Good evening. I have a question.
Hari Om and Pranams.
Please, Miss Annie,
Yeah,
go
madam,
ahead.
please go. Yeah, madam, please go ahead.
Oh, I have a question. Why is Sundarkand very popular among the North Indians? Because I have a lot of North Indian friends. They always want to do the Sundarkand every now and then. So, but I've never asked them this question before.
Yeah, the only reason is that the real Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana, was not available to the common man until Ramcharitmanas was written. So the liberation to Ramayana in the northern part of the country has happened with the arrival of Ramcharitmanas. So people were so happy. So people on weekends, they used to sit down and recite. So that became a culture of, even now in North India, if you go, there are the bhajans and the sessions where the Ramcharitmanas is recited. It is such a festival, such an event which occurs in maybe Goel Saab and Surya and our friends would know how it is. And that's the reason why in South India also, in Tamil Nadu, in Andhra and other places also, where the North Indian friends live, they would gather at a place and recite Ramcharitmanas. It became our culture. It became our culture. So that's the beauty of it. Thank you, man. Thank you. You brought back the point.
Yeah, this is Dr. Bhattacharya. Sir, what is the difference between Sundarkand and Hanuman Chalisa? Because both more or less speak of the same episode. So how are the foods of reciting the Hanuman Chalisa and reciting the Sundarkand different, sir?
Well, maybe I would also say that Sundarkand basically had an interface with Ramayana, whereas Hanuman Chalisa is an exclusive devotion to Hanuman as God. In Valmiki Ramayana, Hanuman had his deeds to do. He was assigned a role. He was doing his miracles, and that was the description. That is what we sing when we sing through Ramayana. But when we sing Hanuman Chalis, when we recite Hanuman Chalis, it is the bhakti to Lord Hanuman that we are showing, him as God. And as much importance we give to Lord Rama in the Ramayana Katha, here we give so much importance to Lord Hanuman in Hanuman Chalisa. Maybe I would ask learned friends like Goel Saab and Surya also to show some light on this. It's an important question. Let us dwell on this a bit. गोयल साहब, कुछ कहना चाहेंगे इसके बारे में?
Hariom Pranams. Hariom and Pranams. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
I am audible now? Okay. See, there is one question in my mind, although, that why is Sundarkand called as Sundarkand? I discussed this issue also with one of my very good friend who is expert in sort of expert in Manas. They say Manas, not even Ramcharitmanas. He hails from near Chitrakoot. So Chitrakoot is an area where Tulsidas ji and Lord Ram, Lakshman and Sita ji stayed during the exile period. I think almost like 5 or 10 or 12 years over there. So why it is called Sundarkand is basically the good aspects of happenings are expressed in Sundarkand, such as Hanumanji flies over the 100 योजन का जो समुद्र है उसको वो लांघते पार करते हैं, देन वो सीता जी का खोज करते हैं, देन सीता जी का खोज करके वो रावण को समझाते हैं, रावण को समझा के विभीषण को ट्रैक करते हैं, विभीषण से बात करते हैं, विभीषण को वापस लेके आने के लिए तैयारी करवाते हैं, and all sort of good things are happening. So when we chant or when we recite this Sundarkand, people, it is a feeling that God invokes in us and God gives grace to us to resolve all sort of difficult situations in our day-to-day life. This is what it looks like. And what I feel it is also, of course, normally today morning only I was just brooding into, normally a common man will do puja only to take care of his or her day-to-day difficulties and problems and troubles. That is all known as Kamya Karma as per Bhagavad Gita. But we should finally land up into Nishkam Karma, that is selfless service of non-doership as expounded in the Bhagavad Gita also. This is a small understanding of mine for Sundarkand. Now when it comes to Hanuman Chalisa, in the presentation Dr. Barla has very specifically mentioned, and it is a fact, that when Akbar called upon Tulsidas ji and he was put in the jail in Fatehpur Sikri, and then that is a place where Tulsidas ji wrote this Hanuman Chalisa, and he was continuously chanting this Hanuman Chalisa, Joy Pade Hanuman Chalisa, Shatvar Pade Hanuman Chalisa, Hoye Siddh Sakhi Gauri Shad. So like that, so Hanuman Chalisa has got its very specific, invocation and prayer to the Lord Hanumana that will give you a different kind of grace and blessings, so that your day-to-day or immediate problems are sorted out. Of course, when you talk about, I mean, you can correlate this with Bhagavad Gita's chapter 9, verse 22. Anyanas chintayanto mam ye jana paryupasate tesham nityami yuktanam yogakshemam. Lord Krishna says ki if anyone is connected with me, gets connected to me, ananyas chintayanto mam means without any thought process, without any thinking, any other thing, to the exclusion of everything. If one gets connected to the Lord, then the Lord promises that he would take care of his yogakshemam. What is yogakshemam? Yogakshemam is
welfare.
Excuse me, sir. To me, it seems something like Hanuman Chalisa is a shorter version of Sundarkand, so that a common man can.
Yogakshemam is basically.
Sir, am I audible?
Yeah. Tapasji, what you are saying is very, very valid. See, when you talk about this smaller version, then in that case, Om Shri Hanumate Namaha. That itself is good enough. When you do chanting of 108 times of this only one single mantra, that goes very well. And Ram Rame Rameti. There is one two-line shloka which gives you the entire content, entire intent of Vishnu Sahasranam. So it depends upon what kind of devotion and what kind of bhav from inside it comes, like when you see Dr. Barla chanting or singing a bhajan, the way he goes inside in his heart, so that is how it happens. So ultimately what is required is our what is our emotions, what are our feelings towards the Lord. So to what extent, to what kind of हम कितना कारुण्य से भगवान से प्रार्थना करते हैं, उससे हमको वो कारुण्यता से ही भगवान उसका हमको ग्रेस देते हैं. नारद भक्ति सूत्र में भी यही लिखा है कि ज्ञान मार्ग से जो आदमी चलता है उसको ही इज नॉट वेरी हैप्पी बिकॉज ही थिंक्स दैट ही कैन डू इट एवरीथिंग बाय हिज ओन वे. But whereas Lord is always pleased by the bhakti because bhakti is always banking on the grace of the God, banking on the support of the God, taking the help of the God. So the two things are different. Two things are there. So depending upon individuals, intent and individuals' mindset or sanskar or their own punya karma, depending upon that it happens. But ultimately, jnana and bhakti both will have to come together. ज्ञान और वैराग्य, ज्ञान भक्ति दोनों साथ में ही चलेगा, और उस ज्ञान के बिना भक्ति नहीं और भक्ति के बिना ज्ञान नहीं, ऐसा करके वो बाद में बीच में कहीं आता है. So that we can think it over. So
Yeah,
your
so
question of telling Sundarkand and Hanuman Chalisa, yes, shorter version if you so wish, you can always have it. See, it is something like this, that you are chanting a particular mantra and then you're expanding it and then you're again pressing it, uska pressy bana dete hain. So it is all expansion and contraction that takes place in the mind of the any bhakta or any seeker of the knowledge.
जी. और सर जैसे
Hari
कि
Om, pranams.
नमस्कार.
okay,
Pranam.
so can I share one of my thought process on this particular thing? The basic idea is it is again a pure form of a psychology where the great rishis, the seers, they have identified that we need to become mindful of our every activity that we are going to do. So when we are reciting Sundarakanda or we are reciting Hanuman Chalisa, from my perspective, it is this, that we just only do not do a lip service kind of a recitation. Like what Ms. Annie was rightly pointing out, why Sundarakanda is so important. The journey of Sundarakanda is so important because when we read the text as it is going, and if we try to understand the meaning of each of the verses that is being explained, or if we can look into the pravachan of any of the good vaktas, then we understand the meaning and the journey that is going through each and every phase. And human body is such a wonderful mechanism that once our awareness, we become mindful, we become aware of what are the actions, what are the thought processes, what are the various actions which are being performed by each of those beings, especially Hanumanji who is there. The devotion with which, the commitment with which, though he is having that kind of a strength, he never boasts of his strength. He is so humble and committed to the purpose. He is just bringing out the competency and the skill set with one goal in mind, one focused approach. That is the approach when whoever is in this particular of a challenge is able to exercise that kind of a Hanuman's devotion towards Rama for achieving a specific goal is then achieved, is the beauty about Sundarakanda. We as human beings are able to achieve with this mindfulness. The moment we are able to work on the mindfulness of Sundarakanda, we start achieving our set goals naturally with the divine's grace. That is what is Sundarakanda, and the same is with Hanuman Chalisa, where it says Sri Guru Charana Saroja Rajani Jamanamukara Sudhari. He says, with the just the dust of the Guru's Krupa, the feet which is under the feet, the dust which is under the feet of the Guru, if his Krupa is there, then it goes on saying, Jai Hanumana Jnana Guna Sagar. You are saying Jai Hanumana with Jnana. The one quality we should become our mindfulness, our awareness to the qualities what Lord Hanuman manifests. Once we are able to do this with devotion and complete surrender, we are bound to achieve the success. The cosmic, the Brahmanda starts working in delivering those kind of things for us. That is the big takeaway from Sundarakanda as well as Hanuman Chalisa. This is in brief my perspective. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Pranam Sadhguruji. You have explained it very clearly, very well. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Maybe Dilip Garu.
Sir, I have a small question. Sir, I have a small question.
Please go ahead.
Go ahead.
Hanumanji is in the later part of the Ramcharitmanas and the career. We find that Hanumanji is the 100% devotee or plus 100% devotee of Lord Rama. But till before Aranyakand, when Hanumanji is sent by Sugriva to find out who are these two gentlemen roaming around in the forest in this area, in his kingdom. And then Hanumanji goes and then understands and meets and things like that. That is a time when, I mean, it looks like that before that, Hanumanji had no interaction with Ramchandraji or what? Because later on, you find that Hanumanji is completely devoted to Sri Rama. So it always comes to my mind why it is, how it is happening like that. This is one. And second point which comes to my mind is I would like to understand what was the need of Lord Rama to be in cover in the wailing portion to kill Vali, because he could have explained or done something very positive in a different way. This is what it comes to my mind. But I am open to corrections. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Guruji, jahan tak as long as the part that how is Hanuman ji has an idea or the impressions of Rama, Lord Rama. What I feel is that he already had everything in him about Lord Rama, but that was a way how it has been introduced to a common man who would be reading the Ramayana and the Ramcharitmanas, that how these two unknown entities were merging and coming together. That is my way of thinking. That is what Tulsidas ji or Valmiki ji has tried to depict.
Okay, just to briefly highlight from what little knowledge I have gained over a period of time, I do not know whether it is correct or absolutely as per the scriptures or not. I may be corrected by the august participants here. It is being said that Lord Hanuman as a child and Rama did meet once at the time of their childhood. But at that point in time, Lord Hanuman is considered as the, not only at that time, but throughout, Lord Hanuman is considered as the incarnation of Lord Shiva himself. Lord Rama is considered as the incarnation of Lord Sri Mahavishnu. So the beauty about the amalgamation of Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva in their respective tattva is being highlighted both in Valmiki Ramayana as well as in Ramcharitramanas. It is being said like this, like Shivaya Vishnu Rupaya Shiva Rupaya Vishnave. Shivasya Hridayam Vishnuho, Vishnoscha Hridayam Shivaha. They are both with one another always. I do not know if Navinji is asking this question just to expose or what, I'm not sure. But later on, based on the strengths and arrogances or out of his ignorance, when Hanumanji was talking and then putting out his strength outside without any kind of a limitations, then he was being blessed with a curse not to remember his strengths or connects. So that is one form of saying where they were again separated. But in back again, when there was the first meeting, which is out of the unconsciousness, the unconscious mind coming back and then again meeting with the conscious mind, revealing the divine connect between each other, is what is the connection between Rama and Hanuman, which is happening like the first love. You do not know whether you meet once or twice or how many times, doesn't matter. But the moment you meet with one another, you already know that this is for your life. That's how Hanumanji has connected back to Lord Shri Rama at that particular instance. That is one part. The second part is when we are talking about Bali, where he is having the strength to kill anybody. He is being blessed with a kind of a strength to kill anyone or the opponent, whoever is there. His might strength comes 50% to him naturally, so he can even kill Ravana very easily. But the way Lord Rama chose between Vali and Sugriva, which we discussed last time also, is to stand for Dharma. Because Vali has not been standing on the side of Dharma, that is the reason he had to be punished the way he was punished by Lord Rama. That is the simple understanding. But these discussions can go on for longer time. Hopefully, we will keep the pointers because it is 8 p.m. now, and we would like to keep the pointers where we can gain knowledge and give some kind of a tips and techniques for the youth. I would like to move the discussion in that direction. Thank you. If any, we can have another 5-10 minutes of discussion.
Thank you
We are
very
at
much,
8.
Niranjan.
Welcome,
Thank
sir.
you very much, Niranjan Garu. You have given a very appropriate reply, and both the queries are satisfied. Hari Om Pranams. The second one, which was I was remembering it, but it forgot of. That's great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Very good explanation.
Welcome, sir. Thank you.
Good. Another important aspect that we all should remember is that Ramayana happened in Treta Yuga, and only when Narada Mahamuni Upadesha had we told to Valmiki, that Valmiki heard and understood, and later on has written in the form of Valmiki Ramayana. From that, of course, again, Tulsidas Ramayana and all that. So the question is, what was the real Ramayana? The real Ramayana, which has happened in the Treta Yuga, could have been different. How see, we know the Lord Hanuman and Lord Rama had greater role to play in the later part of Ramayana because there was a need. But these two avatars were there, and what else they did and whatever would have happened much before in Treta Yuga, real Ramayana time. Okay, we only know the version of Narada Mahamuni and the version of. So we have a lot to explore. Rama is very little known to us. With all these scriptures, Ramayana is still lesser known to us. And the more we research into this epic, the more we discover. That is the beauty of this. So our question divine in the previous Satya Yuga. From Satya Yuga, the Treta Yuga came and so on. So each one had their role to play. That's what I just wanted to say. Thank you very much. So any other query or something, Niranjan Garu, or shall we move on to conclusions? I wanted to listen to Dilip Garu also.
Nice presentation, Dr. Barla. we thoroughly enjoyed it. Very useful information, and good thing was that there was a good amount of discussion and clarification coming from everyone. The participation was excellent. Thanks to Mr. Naveen, Mr. Tapas, Niranjan as usual was at his best, So and he's also chipped in with her questions. So it was a good presentation all around, Good presentation, good discussion. So I enjoyed it thoroughly. Scriptures are not my forte as such, but maybe I should be able to find the esoteric meaning behind everything and see where it makes more sense, more logical sense, than what it is doing now. So I hope we'll have more such session coming in the future. So let's see, keep fingers crossed and hope for the best. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. That's a nice explanation. Thank you very much.
So if there are any other comments or thought processes we can have, or we can close our session. We are at 8 p.m. right now. So maybe we can close in another 5 minutes.
Niranjan Garu.
Yeah, please tell me.
Good evening, everyone.
Namaskar.
Namaskaram. This is Surya Kumar Singh. Some observation, if presentation went very well organized and well rehearsed and well research was done. This Zoom link you had sent to everyone, I forwarded to some of my friends. So one of them has written that in this it says present Ramayana of Valmiki, and then the next line says Holy Bible and Holy Quran. So his comment is that is not Ramayana also holy. So I don't know. So maybe he had some more.
I swear. Okay.
And second thing is that I was also going through Google's Baba today. So the more deeper you go, the more confused or more questions you have. Because some places it says, like you said, Hanuman was the avatar of Shiva. And it seems Shiva was getting married to Sati, and in that process she got killed somehow, and Vishnu had done some mischief. So Shiva got angry and he gave a sap to Vishnu that you will also feel the same pinch of your wife, and that is why he was feeling the pain of Sita. But when Shiva became normal, he told Ram or Vishnu that time, okay, I will come with you and help in all the way so that you feel the less pain. And that is why he came as a Hanuman for Ram. And as it says, Lakshmana was the incarnation of Sheshnag. And before Ram could die, or means he relinquished his body, Lakshman submerged himself into Saryu river, and he said that when Ram comes, his seat is ready for him as a Vishnu. Then again it said that Ramayana was also written by Hanuman in Treta Yuga, and when Valmiki saw that Ramayana, he was so ashamed that he has written such a good Ramayana. But since Valmiki had written first, so Hanuman burned his Ramayana, his version of Ramayana. So that is why when Valmiki took rebirth as a Tulsidas, he praised Hanuman also in a form of Hanuman Chalisa. So these are some of the inputs which I gathered today only in the morning. So I just wanted to pitch in some input benefit of maybe, I don't know whether additional knowledge I got. So that is what I wanted to say. Thank you everyone.
Thank you, Surya Sahab. Thank you very much. बहुत ही अच्छा observation है. अच्छा लगा आपसे सुन के. One point I just wanted to clarify that these scriptures, be it Hindu scriptures or scriptures of any other faith, we record them the way they are treated, or the way they are on the tongue of the people. Mahabharat, we say. We don't say Holy Mahabharat. We say Mahabharat. Pavitra Granth. We say Pavitra Granth. It's a Pavitra Granth. Okay. Srimad Ramayana. Srimad Ramayana, we'll say. So we have our own way of glorifying the scriptures, of our own scriptures. Now, coming to the scriptures which came to us from other parts of the globe, for example, the Bible, if you take, it was not written in Sanskrit. Okay, it came to us in English, and of course later on we translated. In this process, they always say on their tongue, it is always there, that Holy Bible, Holy Quran. That it is a way of saying. It is no communication in that. It is the style of people. My hairstyle is different. Yours hairstyle is different. Like that, the Holy Quran and Holy Bible is the way people say that, and the way we say is different. So both are great ways people address the script.
It was not my version. You can see this is in the WhatsApp message he has sent. So that is what I told.
Understood. Bilkul understood hai. And this I would also like to clarify that this particular forum, which I and Niranjan Garu created, and all of you have joined as partners in this forum. This forum is a secular forum. This is a forum of all faiths. We would like to deal in all faiths. We are dealing with Ramayana of North India, we are dealing with Ramayana of South India, we have Majhdara and whatnot. So that's why all 4 versions of Ramayana are coming. Next week we are going to take up the Kamba Ramayana and Molla Ramayana, which are purely South Indian recitations of Ramayana. And we'll see the difference. You will see exciting dimensions of Ramayana which are occurring to us in these 2 extreme South Indian versions. And we also would like to, later on, we also would like to have sessions on Bible and Quran as well, because ultimately it is theology. It is oneness of God. Whichever route you take, no problem. But ultimately, there's only one God. All of us are reaching only one. God never said, I am Muslim, I am Christian, I am Hindu, or I am something else. No, God is only one, humanity was only one. It is our ignorance that we created the divisions and emotionalizing the divisions and fighting with each other. So the purpose of this forum is also to dissolve those pathos and the secular thinking comes into the people. This is another purpose we have in mind. Therefore, we are talking of Holy Quran and Holy Bible. And if you want to say Holy Ramayana and Holy Mahabharat and Holy Kamba Ramayana, these things also. Thank you very much.
So you have explained it very well. And what I feel is that the holy part is already imbibed in Ramayana or Mahabharata. So we need not write it separately.
Absolutely. Very good. Very good.
सर एक चीज मेरे को बोलना है सर.
हाँ जी.
सर एक चीज मेरे को बोलना है.
How are you, sir?
हाँ, फाइन सर, वेरी फाइन. सर एक क्वेश्चन था मैडम का कि नॉर्थ में सुंदर रामायण, नॉर्थ इंडिया में सुंदर रामायण का ज्यादा पाठ क्यों होता है?
जी
सर सुन रहे हैं?
हाँ हाँ, थोड़ा ढीला है, फिर से बोलिएगा.
नहीं सर, एक क्वेश्चन था मैडम का कि नॉर्थ इंडिया में सुंदर कांड का ही पाठ क्यों होता है? ज्यादा लोग जो है सुंदर कांड का पाठ करते हैं नॉर्थ इंडिया में. सर नॉर्थ इंडिया में,
समझ गए.
हेलो,
हाँ जी, हाँ
नॉर्थ
जी,
इंडिया में सुंदरकांड का पाठ क्यों ज्यादा होता है? तो सर उसका आंसर यही है कि उसमें हनुमान जी
यस,
का ही पूरा शुरू से लेके अंत तक जितना भी वर्णन है सब हनुमान जी का ही है। और क्योंकि हनुमान जी को भगवान के रूप में उधर लोग या हर जगह मानते हैं, इसलिए पूरे रामायण में रामचरितमानस में सुंदरकांड का पाठ नॉर्थ इंडिया में, मतलब जितने भी लोग हैं उनके घर में अगर कोई रामायण का कोई कांड हो चाहे नहीं हो, लेकिन सुंदरकांड का पाठ लोग जरूर करते हैं सर।
वो
तो ये
वो
मेरे मैडम का मेरा वो आंसर था। थैंक यू सर।
नहीं नहीं मैडम जी, थैंक यू, बहुत धन्यवाद मैडम जी। ये प्रश्न सवाल है,
Thank
बहुत
you.
बहुत सही सवाल है कि नॉर्थ इंडिया में सुंदरकांड का ज्यादा होता है कि क्योंकि ये रामचरितमानस के टाइम पे हनुमान जी के भक्ति मूवमेंट स्टार्टेड विद हनुमान जी। सो हर नॉर्थ इंडियन का घर में ये हनुमान चालीसा एंड सुंदरकांड का को जरूर हर एक घर घर में ये रहता है, घर घर में ये
सर
है ना, ये होता है एंड सो ऑन। ये बहुत ही एक कल्चरल एस्पेक्ट है नॉर्थ इंडिया।
यस यस
ये बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट है। द मूवमेंट स्टार्टेड देयर, दैट इज द ग्रेटनेस ऑफ हनुमान जी एंड Tulsidas ji was more of a bhakt of Hanuman. So much that he has written Hanuman Chalisa in one sitting, in his eruption of the bhakti on Hanuman. Such an experience he outpoured. So वो तो गाने से ही एक्सपीरियंस पढ़ने से होता नहीं है। उसको उसको उसका गाना वो होना चाहिए, हृदय से वो आता है तभी। इसलिए घरों में नॉर्थ इंडिया में ये पाठ पढ़ते हैं। थैंक यू मैडम, बहुत ही अच्छा सुंदर प्रश्न पूछा आपने, धन्यवाद।
Okay, I am to be doing the timekeeping. Now it is 8:19. So these discussions are very interesting and very important for us to clarify our thought processes. Please do bring up the discussion questions and other things well in advance as well, so that we can address them. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we have Sujata madam around. Maybe Sujata madam, one comment before we close. Is she around? Okay. If Sujata madam is not around, Niranjan Garu, you can conclude and close.
Okay, so I think we had a very lovely session today, very interactive session. I think what we have today is a presentation which is being done in terms of understanding the Tulsi Ramayana as a Tulsi Charitmanas, the lake of doing good deeds. Let the good deeds flow as the flow of waters, as the flow of lakes. Good deeds from the lessons we are learning from Shri Ram, Shri Hanumanji, and Sita, Lakshmana, Bharata, the entire characters which are moving on, along with the learnings of Tulsidas, his life, his journey, where he is being different aspects of his life right from his childhood, from the time he is getting married and completely devoted only to his wife, and then converting himself into a devotee of Rama. One instance, one time, and the entire course can change. That is the moment what we should be aware of. Bring everything to the mindfulness of every scripture. Every word that is being said there has got a lot of deep meanings, and I request all the august participants to share this message with all the youngsters in your family, in your network, or everywhere, such that we are able to share the ancient wisdom and bring it into our day-to-day lifestyle. With this, I thank Dr. Venkat Barlagaru for his profound presentation and a well-researched document and presentation here. We thank Appal Garu, we thank Shri Dilip ji, thank Naveen Goel ji, and Dr. Surya Prakash Garu, Tapas, Om Prakash Garu, Dr. Sujata Garu, and all the August present participants who are here. Thank you all for your continued participations. Let's work, let's do good, keep our good health and stay fit. Thank you. Body, mind, and soul. Thanks.
Thank you. Good night, everybody. Namaskar. Shubh Ratri.
Namaskar, Shubh Ratri.